where I thought, you know what, God blessed me with a skill to be able to do this, I could teach others how to do this. So at the time, I didn't have my petals qualification. It's a natural skill that, like I said, I've been blessed with the skill to be able to just look at someone's hands and say to them, direct them on how they should be able to do the hair. So I remember going to Jackie, I remember going to the East Town College at the time and saying this is what I could do. At the time, I didn't have my petals qualification, which is preparing to teach in the adult learning sector. So I went about, I got that, and then I was like, boom. There's one step that I've taken. Let's go and approach them again. But there's hurdles. There's steps that we have to take. It's not a jump there and we're there. But there's steps that we need to take, and there's very few people I find that can teach this area well. You understand? Because we've been so used to the perming, the cutting, the styling, the braids, the natural hairstyling. That's something that's becoming so popular now because people are becoming more health conscious. Where they want to know what's going inside their body. They want to take care of their natural hair more. So exactly. I'm sorry, I'm going.
Talk truth.
So I've actually found the reply from Sandra Gitton, and she basically stated, so along the lines, falls in line with what you was just saying, Portia. Many of us were teaching and running courses, external, verify, and both organisations had certificates were awarded. She has many students who can testify of this. Later years take up was low for some variety of reasons. Actually, the reason being that colleges closed courses due to becoming a university and funding issues around courses. Now we have got new standards and opportunities exist to become involved by contacting Habia UK. She stated that they always get involved and answer calls when new standards are being developed. So you can add your voice and get a seat at the table. These are all voluntary commitments that many of us are making to move the industry forward and create a sustainable course for all who wants to specialise in Afro-Caribbean hair. That was her response. So the question that I wanted to ask, let me get my phone up again, is, and this is opened up to the panel, is which is more important? Do we feel that qualifications are more important than experience?
I want to go back to something that I remember the Right Honourable MP for Finchley, Margaret Thatcher, saying in the 80s. Her ambition, one of her ambitions, was to have a nation of shopkeepers. Now clearly that didn't involve and didn't include African and Caribbean people, and we all know that Dyke and Dryden were a remarkable exception, but they were an exception in the ways that they struggled to get basic access to market, the ways that they struggled to get bank loans, credit, these things of this nature. It was clear that the vertical integration, which is key to any business, was not to be extended to Afro-Caribbean business, let alone Afro-Caribbean here. Now, in order to successfully run a business, if you look at an enterprise like, Sainsbury's at the top of the food chain, for example, Sainsbury's owns the farms. Sainsbury's owns the real estate, so they can bring the food from the farm to the supermarket. They have point of sale. In terms of education and learning about how to do Afro hair, education is intrinsically linked to economy. That's the whole purpose of education, is to prepare young people for the economies of the future. Young people may do very exciting things around that, but the fundamental purpose of education is to prepare people to function in the economy. So where we have not had an economy that supports our culture, and it's not just hair, it's food, it's music, it's clothing, all of these kind of things which are particular to visibly melanated people. We do things in a different way, we just do. And even within that, you know, Nigerian people do things different to Sri Lankan people, just do. So where those economies haven't been supported vertically, the hair products that you need, the hair treatments, the hair accessories, all of those things, where those are not being made by African Caribbean people for the service of African Caribbean people in the UK, it's more important, in my opinion, to have an experience, to answer your question, than for these things to be put into a curriculum, which then doesn't function into an economy. If I learn how to do hair, when I get the qualification, I want to exchange that service for money to my betterment.
Yeah.
I know many people, I think I saw there's some young guys that they just figured it out. They just got a van and they drive around and cut people's hair in the van. They get in the coin. So they figured out. So for me, experience and understanding how the economy actually works and how it functions. And I say this as someone that's been an educator in UK schools, that experience is more important than education, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me just add, before I answer if education is more important than experience, just to go back to what you said, why is it taking so long? We have to understand that African and Caribbean people were needed to come to the UK, especially after World War II, but they were not welcome. And so we were not expected in workplaces, even though we were supposed to be working, and definitely not welcome in the schools. And so, you know, for a long time, black people, you know, using the term politically, were not, didn't have access to a lot of kind of jobs, you know. So let's look at, so in the art, for example, you know, like in you know, TV, for example, and in all of those places. So, and I'm mentioning that because with the campaign that I do for recognizing Afro-textured hair and combating the discrimination that we face, you know, you hardly saw, say for example, a black, you know, actress or actor, you know, back, you know, in the days 70s, 80s, well, you know, there are few of them, but just dropped. So say, for example, a hairdresser or a hairstylist wouldn't, in a sense, have the need to know how to, you know, look after the hair of, you know, so if someone who works in, you know, in the media industry, for example, you know, they wouldn't really have had the need to learn to do Afro-textured hair because they wouldn't have had that many clients when it comes to modeling or TV or none of that. And that's why now we find a lot of black actresses and models and presenters always have this problem when they come on set. They're like, oh, sorry, we don't know what to do with your hair, and they have to be the ones. So we have to understand that it is down to the racism that was, you know, in the society, the way that people from Africa and Caribbean were thought about. So there was no incentive, no push, no will to include our hair in the curriculum. But now that we're talking more about inclusion and diversity, the society is beginning to see the importance of inclusion and diversity, and the fact that this economy will collapse if we don't include you know, everyone to take part. I think that we're beginning to address that, and that's why, unfortunately, it's only happening now. But I think it's a great thing that it is happening anyway. And if experience is better than education, I think they go hand in hand. But experience can educate, you know. So in a way, I think experience tops it a little bit, but yeah, I think it's good to have both. Thank you.
I think experience and cultural knowledge, because even if these salons are able to cater for Afro-textured hair because they've got a qualification, do they have the cultural knowledge? And let's be clear, cultural knowledge gives you the ability to know the difference of how to handle a Trinidadian customer with Afro-textured hair, a Nigerian customer with Afro-textured hair, and say a person who is of mixed parentage with Afro textured hair. And these are the kind of qualities that we need in the community. So when a person like Vidal comes to me, who's a professional in his music career, I have to have that cultural knowledge to know, okay, this is a person that has this hair type, but I'm knowledgeable about his cultural background. So I could offer him a roti. I'm not gonna offer him, fettuccine or, pork or something when I'm doing his hair.
Really?
So we have to have that cultural knowledge. And my fear is that the inclusion is based on economics, and which is probably their angle. They need to include us because, as you said, Lekia, the industry will die. I'm all for preserving the ancestral knowledge of our hair, and I don't want people to get their hair done in a European salon because they want to be included, but they're losing the ancestral knowledge of their hair. So I'm all for qualifications, but it has to sit alongside ancestral knowledge, cultural knowledge, and working with the people who, like Portia and myself, who are on the front line of doing hair and have, a world of experience.
I think that's the question, just to follow on from what Leslie had said, I think that's the question that me as a lay customer would want answered in that setting. I'm like, why do these people suddenly see us?
Exactly.
Because we've been doing this for years. For me, when I used to just clean off my head, just like shave everything off. But even then, going to the barbers was a ritual until it got to about £15 for a fade, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I might as well just get my clippers and clean it off myself. But before then, you're going in there to find out whether Trevor Burbank can beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Whether Ian Wright was right to punch that person in the face. Is Naomi Campbell creaming her foot bottom? All of these things. But that's where you go. That's the talk when we go to the salon. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you'll talk about when we go to the salon, but there's that important component, which is advancing the culture, advancing the community. It's the safe places that we've had, because to be honest, a lot of public places have not been safe for visibly melanated people. So the barber shop is somewhere where a woman can run their fingers through my hair and it's okay, or a guy could put a blade to my throat and it's okay. It's a very important safe space. So it's like there are all of those cultural components. For me, it's like one of the important places where the culture lives. That I'm not sure how you shoehorn that into an educational setting, and I'm not sure of the history of successfully shoehorn. I genuinely don't know. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying I don't know.
I think it would be very important.
Vidal, when you access a hair artist to do your hair, do you access them based on their qualifications, their experience, or a recommendation, or all three? Recommendation
has to be somebody that I know, who knows somebody that I know, because you have a discussion with your hairstylist. You're like, I want to do this, and the hairstylist will tell you your hair can't do that.
It's very personal, yeah.
I just want to interject and say, I think over the years, I'm learning that, experience, yes, hands-on. For me, that's always going to be the first, yeah. But I'm understanding that qualifications behind the experience takes you a lot further, because that's what society is kind of asking for. When you what they're trying to do is set certain standards, because when we go into certain salons, there's certain standards, like you drop a comb on the floor, they put it back in your head. Yeah. Which causes all kind of germs and contamination and all of that. And so I understand the process of what they're trying, the standards that they're trying to put in place to make people more health conscious, more aware of what they're doing. But experience, that's where the collaboration needs to take place between the people who have these qualifications and who has the experience coming together to just help us, you know, like rise up a little.
Elevate.
Right, yeah.
So basically, we're saying that more people that's got the experience like ourselves, if we was to go into the colleges, set the foundation like you've done your Pebbles, I've done